So now comes the really fun part of the assignment, in my opinion, and that is starting to bring in some components that you can find on 3D Warehouse, or even your own components. Um, I am going to look at, if I go online here, I'm on 3D Warehouse, and this has become a really, really valuable forum, and it's gotten so much better in the last few years. It used to be a huge mess, but they've really made it a lot better now than it used to be. What you can do is you can start to search through some of the big names in terms of furnishings and office furniture, and some of the commercial like Formica, Kohler, all of the different companies that have started to upload 3D models. You can also search, do a basic search for something. So if I wanted to look for something as specific as bird bath, I could type in bird bath and find anything that anyone's made. The downside to 3D Warehouse is that everybody and anybody can upload onto this. So you're not guaranteed that these things are going to be drawn to scale, and you're also not guaranteed that they're going to be good models. If you start out with something that's a little bit more trusted, some of these companies like Herman Miller or Steelcase, especially for office furniture, you're going to be in a much better shape when you download the models. So I have included on Blackboard a list or a link to some of the better collections, I would say, that you can find on 3D Warehouse. To download a model, first things first, you can just kind of scroll through and see everything that they have to offer. So let's say we decide we want this Eames molded chair with the wire base. When you click on it, it's going to give you information here. It's going to tell you how many times it's been downloaded, how many polygons, how many materials, all of those things. And those are all kind of important because you don't want something that's super, super huge. If you look right here where it says .skp file size, it's telling me that this is 464 kilobytes, which isn't crazy. If I was looking at this and it said 46 megabytes, that's a huge red flag. That's a giant, giant file, and that's probably going to crash my SketchUp file. So I'm not going to do something that's huge. It's probably not made very well either. I can also click on it and see that I've got some options here. I've got either the SketchUp 2013 model or the SketchUp 8 model. So to begin downloading it, I would just simply click on this. So I have already done that with a model here. I've opened up my Eames Executive Work Chair 3D. I've downloaded it, opened it up out of my downloads folder, and now I can just kind of look at it and see how it's made. And a lot of these components used to be made so that every little bit was a component in and of itself. Like this arm would be a component matching that arm. But I'm seeing more and more that they're exploding them and making them a lot simpler and also a lot harder to edit. So the good thing about these is that they're easy. I don't have to make this from scratch because that would take a long time. But I do have less of an ability to edit them. But at the end of the day, how much editing am I going to do to something that's an iconic piece of furniture anyway? So first things first, I would save this to my desktop, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to also right-click and make it a component because I want this to be editable. I'm going to do a File, Save As, and I'm doing to my desktop just because this is for this class. I'm just going to call it Chair, and I'm saving as a SketchUp model. Save. And now I can go ahead and shut it down when I'm done. When I'm actually filing for a real job or a real project, I'm saving in a much more specific way, and I'm saving components in their own folders where I can find them a lot easier because I don't want to litter up my desktop. To bring in a component, I'm going to go Import, and instead of AutoCAD files, which I have as an option because I have the Pro version, I'm going to go to SketchUp Files, and there's Chair. So I can import that file now, and it's going to import, and I can just click to drop it wherever it is that I want to drop it. Now I can rotate it into position, 90 degrees. I'm going to make some copies of it. So I'm just going to put it on top of the chair where it belongs, make some copies. So I can see that I've got a total of 6 chairs. So as I drag it in this direction, I'm going to divide by 5, and I'm going to get my copies there. Now I can take my guide and find the center point of this table by clicking from point to point. Select my chairs, and using that center point, rotate all the way around 180 degrees. And sometimes this drags a little bit because we're dealing with a lot more information now. So I'm rotating around 180, enter, and letting that plop into place, and then hitting delete to the guides. Now I can pull my table up into place. I'll worry about those other chairs at the end a little later. So I'm just going to click from point to point, and I'm just going to, for the sake of this, I'm going to design this table upside down. I'm going to push-pull this up 2 inches, offset it like that, and push this up an additional 28 inches. And now I can close that and flip along the group's blue. All right, so I'm just going to leave it at that for the sake of this demonstration. But you can see as you start exploring 3D Warehouse that there are, I wouldn't say infinite because obviously there's only so many, but there are so many different models that you can download and so many different things you can use as your basis. And I think it's only going to get more and more intense as time goes on. I mean, I've seen this website grow so much in the last 5 or 6 years. It's already gotten so much cleaner and so much better. And it seems like the better the models are, the more upfront they are as you're scrolling through. So the stuff that is really, really junky and messes up your file seems to be falling kind of lower on the list of views. So you can start bringing in sinks to your models. You can bring in toilets. You can bring in pretty much anything you can think of. Plants, people, all of that stuff. I would say be careful when it comes to 3D plants because 3D plants have a lot of geometry. The more geometry you have in a component or in an item, the more memory it takes up. As you see, as I click on this, you can see as I triple click on it how many facets this little cushion actually has, and that's each one of these facets is creating its memory for this. So just keep that in mind. Sorry about that. That was my dog. So go ahead and start bringing components in, and yeah, just explore with as many components as you can.